What's going on, everybody? We are here. It is Selection Sunday, and we are figuring out who is going to be in the college football playoff. Um, Today, we find that out in just a few minutes. The show's on. It's usually about 12:20, 12:30 before they actually release who's going to be in the playoff. But it's going to be exciting. There's a lot of what ifs. Oh, we got the football expert. He's going to be joining us here in just a moment. Um, and we'll talk through some of the hypotheticals of what this committee does, who they put in, how we think it plays out, and then we're going to find out who they actually did put in, and we'll give you some thoughts on what we think this means for the playoff, what we think is going to happen, as it's going to be a fun game. Um, Regardless of who gets in for some of these playoff semifinals. I'm excited for all of them, but let's go ahead and do a little rundown of the current playoff rankings. Um, as I'm getting those pulled up right now. Here we go. One moment, it's just pulling up real quick. All right, we got the current college football playoff rankings pulled up now. But and by the way, you guys, um, if you are able to comment on this video, make sure you comment to us who you think should be in, who you want to see in, what the best matchup you think will be, and let us know all that stuff in the comments. So the new AP poll is already out. Number one, it's Michigan. Number two, Washington. Number three, Texas. Number four, Florida State. Number five, Alabama. Number six, Georgia. Number seven, Ohio State. Number eight, Oregon. Number nine, Missouri. 10, Penn State. 11, Ole Miss. 12, Oklahoma. 13, LSU. 14, Arizona. 15, Notre Dame. 16, Louisville. I don't understand flipping those one spot. Louisville literally beat Notre Dame. I don't know why they flipped those two. 17 SMU, 18 Liberty, 19 NC State, 20 Iowa, 21 Oregon State, 22 Oklahoma State, 23 Tulane, 24 James Madison, and 25 Tennessee. In the others receiving votes category, Clemson is first with 87 votes, followed by Troy with 65, Utah with 39, Kansas State with 38, Miami, Ohio with 31, Toledo with 22, Kansas with 8, and Kentucky with 4. The only team that dropped from the rankings was Toledo. Then you look here at the previous college football playoff rankings for last week, as that was the AP rankings for this season or this new week. You look at last week's college football playoff rankings. Number one, Georgia. Number two, Michigan. Number three, Washington. Number four, Florida State. Number five, Oregon. Number six, Ohio State. Number seven, Texas, and number eight, Alabama. Those are the only teams in contention for this. Bama beats Georgia. All right, Texas beats Oklahoma State. They win. Ohio State doesn't play. Oregon loses to Washington. So Oregon is eliminated. Florida State wins. So you got Michigan's going to be number one. Um, Michigan will be number one. Number two will be Washington. As those are the only two like really proven. Florida State's the only other unbeaten team, but obviously no Jordan Travis, nothing for them. So they're not as big of an undefeated team as Michigan and Washington. But Michigan will be one. Washington will be two. Then who's three and four is the question. And the playoff committee's in a terrible spot because they're going to get killed regardless of what they do. They're going to get absolutely murdered. So if they put Bama in and they got to put Texas in, which means they leave Florida State out, they're going to get a lot of crap from Florida State fans and just everybody in general because Florida State was unbeaten. They deserve to be in. If Florida State gets in, then you got to pick between Texas or Alabama. If you put Texas in, you're going to get all this crap from all the SEC fans that you didn't put the SEC champion in, all this stuff about that. Then, if you um, If you put Alabama in with Florida State, leave Texas out, they're gonna get nailed and just called out because then Texas beat Alabama in the head-to-head, and they didn't put them in. So the committee has themselves in a mess, to say the least. It's gonna be a lot for them to try and maneuver it and figure it out because they've got their hands full. That's for sure. That's for sure. Is that they have their hands full, and there's really no telling what's gonna happen with it, who's gonna go where, what they're gonna do with this. It's gonna be a joy to watch. Is I really have no idea where they're going. I mean, the only thing that is for certain is Michigan and Washington are in. So if you're a Michigan fan, you're a Washington fan, well, you're set. You know you're good. But other than that, I mean, there's just no telling what is going to happen with this one. So that'll definitely be fun to watch for and see what happens with that, um, and how things work out. But it was a great game of football, or a great day of football last uh, last year at this time. Great week this past week. This championship weekend just never disappoints. So um, it was exciting to watch, and I think that this is a real possibility that you could even get another SEC team in Georgia in the playoff, as it's like there's so many possibilities that they could do. I like JJ Watt's idea that says screw it, call an emergency 16 playoff. Washington, Michigan get buys, then you randomly draw to see who plays between Georgia, Alabama, um, Texas, and Florida State. You just randomly draw it to see who faces off there. And I think that that would be probably the best way to figure all this stuff out, but obviously I don't think that's a possibility. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think that they're going to have to run the 14 playoff, as it looks like we got the football expert in here with us, and we do. How's it going?
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Excited to see who these four teams are for the first time and the last time, or well, the first time that we will ever have real debate over what four teams are going to be in any serious manner. Like we have question marks for, I think, really the first time ever.
Oh, definitely. That's what I was just explaining before you got on here. There's the only two spots that are secured are Michigan and Washington. And after that,
I
you
agree.
could make a case. You could make a case for Florida State, Texas, Alabama, and Georgia all getting in.
You could even make a case for Ohio State, but I know they won't.
Yeah, I think they're the only one that is eliminated for sure. Them and
I
Oregon.
agree.
Um,
Hmm.
but I mean, you look at this. That's another thing I was talking about. This playoff committee is going to get absolutely murdered, regardless of what they do. If you put
100.
if you put Texas and Alabama in, you get killed, because I just saw it on the ESPN show also that this will be if Florida State gets left out, they'll be the first unbeaten Power Five conference champion to ever be left out. They're going to get killed for that if they do that. If you
Yeah,
put Florida State and Texas in, you're going to get killed by the SEC um, for not
an
putting the
SEC.
SEC champs in. Yeah, and then if you put Florida State and Bama in, you're going to get absolutely murdered by just everybody that hates Alabama, because they're going to be saying, "Well, Texas beat them. What's the point in playing the games?" So
Yep.
what I personally would love to see is Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Florida State 4. Because
Like,
I
is
you
that a
look at this Alabama
prediction or
squad.
what you want or what should happen?
That's what I want, and also what I think should happen.
Okay.
What
Okay.
I will be in.
Yeah, I think personally what I want and what I think should happen is one Michigan, two Washington. And to be honest, you know what? I don't care if you put Washington at 1. To be completely honest, they almost deserve it more than Michigan
I
does.
think I think Washington should be 1. I just don't think they will be.
No, yeah.
By the way,
So I
real
have no.
quick, we got 5 viewers over on Roundup. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you subscribe over there. Me and the football expert, we do our podcast over there each week where we pick the best 20 games of the schedule. So make sure you guys subscribe over there. But what were you saying?
And hopefully on Roundup we'll get to do our awards ceremony, which we did not do last season, but we did 2 years ago. So
Yes.
But with this year, I think 1 or 2 Michigan and Washington, then 3 should be Texas, and 4 should be Bama. Just because even with Jordan Travis, even with all of the even with Jordan Travis and Florida State, they didn't play well this season. You don't really have a signature win. You don't have anything. And I just think that, like, when you look at the ACC championship, you can't look at that team and say, this team deserves to get in any way, shape, or form because, yeah, sure, maybe if you have Jordan Travis, they look a little bit better. But at the same time, this was the same Jordan Travis team that almost lost to BC, that almost lost to Clemson, that almost lost to a Riley Leonard-less Duke team that played terrible against a lot of ACC opponents.
I mean, I get that, but
that
I
was
think
down
at the end of the day,
13-0 before Jordan Travis.
They still deserve, because if you look at Washington, look at all the games that they struggled in. Like everybody.
Yeah, but they don't have a signature win.
I think they do. I think the LSU win at the beginning of the season still counts for a lot, especially considering it was a neutral field and they beat them by 20-something points.
I get that it's a good win, but this is an LSU team that, like, I don't know. I get it.
They're still ranked 13th in the country.
Yeah, I know it's a good win, but this is an LSU team that, who do they beat all season long other than Missouri?
I mean, it's the same thing as Georgia. Who did Georgia beat all year long other than Missouri? Who did Bama beat all? Because, I mean, you really are telling me that Ole Miss is the number 11 team in the country right now?
Comparatively, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I just mean, like, are they really the number 11 team in the country, though? Like,
well, Penn State, are they really the number 10, or what team are they at this point? 9?
Who's that?
Penn State.
Yeah, they're right ahead of them at 10. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, none of these teams really have a good win other than Washington and Michigan. And that's it, because the rest of them are all overrated. Like, yeah, Missouri's a good team. They're ranked number 9. In most years, is Missouri, even with this team, going to be ranked number 9? I don't think so. I think they're probably 10 at best. But, like, this has been a very top-heavy college football season for sure.
Well, it's been very group. It's been very what's the categorized, I guess, is the best way. You have, like, the top 8 teams, and to be honest, I think anywhere from Ohio State, I even think Missouri could compete in that top tier group. But I think anywhere from Ohio State up, so that includes Oregon, Ohio State, Washington, Michigan, Bama,
with
Georgia.
Current rankings, it would be Bama up, yeah.
Well, yeah, Bama up. Okay, yeah, but they won. So, but either way. So you had those 7, and I would be fine if you added Missouri, because I think Missouri competed well. They barely lost to Georgia on the road, so on and so forth. So I'm fine if you had Missouri in that top tier. But then you have the next tier, which is Penn State, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, LSU.
I really think looking at the current rankings, from number 10 to number 20, there's not much that separates those teams.
Agree.
With Penn State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, LSU, Louisville, Arizona, Iowa, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, NC State, Oregon State, I think they're all very similar teams.
Yeah, I agree. Who would Florida State play if they don't make the playoff?
I'm not sure. They would be in the Orange Bowl, so they would play
an SEC school.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you know who they would play?
Missouri. They'd play Missouri.
No, they'd play Georgia.
No,
Yikes.
because That's right, yeah, because Ohio State would be in the Rose Bowl against Oregon.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, so the rankings are coming out so far. Number 1 is Michigan.
Okay.
Harbaugh
That's good.
and the Wolverines, they get the number 1 spot. You can tell by the looks on their faces at their watch party, they all kind of knew that one was coming.
Oh yeah.
They
I think
they don't seem too shocked by that.
here's the only problem though. Or go ahead.
Number 2's coming in. I assume this is going to be Florida State. Washington, and it is. It is Washington. As we got friction hitching here, Florida State will lose the New Year's Six Bowl no matter if they make the college football playoff or not. We all know that. Well, yeah, we all know that because if they're going to lose half their team in that game anyways.
Yeah, you're not going to have any Jaheim Bell. You're not going to have any Jeremiah Johnson. You're not going to have any Jared Verse. You're not going to have any, or not Jeremiah Johnson. I'm sorry, I confused him with Jared Verse. You're not going to have any Jared Verse. You're not going to have any. Who's the Michigan State transfer that I forgot his name?
I mean, you're losing Coleman, Wilson, and Verse right off the bat. Probably going to lose Jaheim Bell, and there's a few other pieces they may lose as well in the bowl game. So it's going to be tough for them, and I get this. Florida State will lose they will be a 14-point underdog to anybody that they get matched up with in this top 8 group. But I still think they deserve to be in because
if they play Georgia, what's their spread? If they play Georgia,
but I think that they deserve to get in because they won the games to get there. As number 3 is in, and it is the Texas Longhorns.
Okay, that's no surprise there.
The Longhorns make it at 3, and I think they're a real dangerous team with those offensive weapons.
Agreed.
I'm so hyped for this Washington-Texas game. This was the one matchup I was really hoping for. Because this is going to be insane. This is going to be an insane game between those two teams. Not a whole lot of not bad defenses, but not good defense, either. But top of the line, elite offenses. As the time has come and we find out who's number 4, is it Bama or is it Florida State? And we'll have to wait and see. They're getting ready to announce this now.
Okay.
As they're showing the resume comparison.
Final prediction here, Lincoln.
Strength of record rank: Alabama is 4th, Georgia 7th, Florida State 3rd. Strength of schedule rank: Alabama is 5th, Georgia 37th, Florida State 55th, which I never understand that. How is the strength of record and strength of schedule that far apart for these teams? That makes no sense. Win-loss versus last week's college football playoff top 25. Bama's 4-1, Georgia 3-1, Florida State 3-0. Key wins for Alabama is Georgia and
who's Florida State 3 wins against LSU? Who else? Clemson?
LSU, Louisville, and Clemson.
Oh, Louisville. I forgot about that one. My bad.
And see, this is why I think Ole Miss is still ranked at 11 also, so that they can justify putting Bama and Georgia in one of them.
Maybe.
But
there's no way you can put
now, and they put I forget that they start at 6 whenever they get to 4 because Georgia popped up on the screen, and I was like, what the heck?
Wow, you dropped them from
6.
I get that. I get it. I understand it, but man, you dropped them 5 spots for losing a 3-point game. That's
you
terrible.
have to because you have to.
Yeah, you do.
You can't put Bama behind them if you leave Bama out. You can't put Florida State behind them unbeaten. So yeah, Georgia comes in at 6. Alabama gets number 4. Okay, so that's your playoff. Bama 4. They leave Florida State out. They put them at 5.
Okay, well, I think it's just like I said. It was both my prediction and what I wanted. And I think at the end of the day, what's your national championship game picks? I'll say mine real quickly. I think we get a Texas-Alabama natty.
I still don't know who I think wins that Alabama-Michigan game. I think that one's going to be a very fun one because Michigan, solid offense, not great, but that defense is just so good. And I wonder how this Alabama offense is. Because, I mean, let's not sit here and pretend like Alabama's some elite team because they're just not. They're just not. I mean, they struggled. They looked like roadkill against Auburn last week. They've struggled all season long with Arkansas. I mean, they barely hung on to beat Arkansas at home. And people, I don't know how in the world people are forgetting that this was a team that was tied at 3 with South Florida going into halftime and only won that game 17-3. They got beat by Texas on their own field by 10 points. So I mean, they're not an elite team, but it's a Nick
But that's
Saban
also a
coach.
different team. That's a different team than now, right now. If they
But
played
are they
South Florida,
really?
they'd be.
Because are they really though? Because they've shown they've shown the same signs in multiple games throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, but it's the same thing that it's the same thing you have with Georgia. Georgia is a team that played terrible against against Ball State and against Vanderbilt and against Georgia Tech and then they turn it on against Kentucky and Ole Miss. So
I mean,
I don't know.
yes, they turned it on against Kentucky and Ole Miss, but Ole Miss has no defense, and in no world is Kentucky beating Alabama or Georgia. Like I get the argument there, but like those just aren't good teams. But yeah, I mean, I think Michigan. I think Michigan probably beats Alabama. And Washington, Texas, man, that is just going to be an absolute dogfight. But I'm taking Washington. I think with Penix and those receivers, I think Penix can. I think if that offense is on for Washington, they can beat anybody that they want.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing. At the end of the day, I think we have in the last playoff is I think the best playoff. I
That's what
know
I
we're
was just
moving
about to say. I think
we're
this is going to be the most competitive playoff that we've had. I mean, maybe the first year was pretty competitive,
yeah.
but I think that this is going to be the most competitive that we have. Um, I mean, because a lot of times you look at a lot of these games that have been played in the playoff. Um, like there really hasn't been a whole lot of great semifinal games. You got Michigan, TCU. You got Clemson, Ohio State from 2019, and I mean,
Yeah.
there's really not a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, last year we had good semifinal games with terrible.
That's right, Georgia, Ohio State. I forgot about that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good semifinals, but the national championship was terrible.
Yeah. And to be honest, at the end of the day, that happened just because TCU was just a terrible matchup for Georgia. It was
Oh
just a
yeah,
terrible.
for sure, for sure.
So
Um, you
I
know,
think if
and
TCU played Ohio State, it would have been maybe a 2-touchdown game, but I think it would have been way closer.
I mean, and you look at this playoff right here. You're gonna have two great semifinal games. And then
Yep.
whenever you get to the national championship, you're going to have a great national championship regardless of who wins the semifinal games. That's just how it plays out because I think Washington and Texas are very similar teams. Um, I think they're very similar teams, so I don't think it really matters which one wins and how they're going to match up with either
And I
Michigan or
think
Bama because I think they're basically the same team. Very elite offense, solid defense, not good, not bad.
it's the same for Alabama and Georgia. I think that you're looking at a team that in Alabama that is very similar to Michigan. So I think you got very similar teams there on both ends. So
Oh
I
yeah, for
think
sure. I think
yeah,
both of those teams are very similar. I mean, they showed it yesterday.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that it's at the end of the day, this is going to be a good playoff. It's going to be fun to stream both of these games and the rest of the New Year's Six games, as these games won't even be played on New Year's Eve. They'll be played on New Year's Eve. So because New Year's Eve is on a Sunday. So it's
That's right. They'll be on the Saturday, and the semifinal games will be on January 1st. Michigan Bama will be at 5, and Washington Texas will be at 8:45. So that'll also be good. I won't be traveling then. Hopefully, we'll be back by 5 o'clock. We can stream those games together.
definitely
And so yeah, so make sure you guys subscribe to all three channels: the College Football Roundup, American Football Network, and the Football Expert, because we're gonna be having
a
a
lot of
ton of bowl streams, basically all of them. Um,
yep.
we'll be streaming basically all of them. So make sure you guys uh, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you won't miss any of them. But I think this pretty much wraps up today's stream. Any closing thoughts from you?
I'm excited to see what the bowl games are. I'm excited to see what the matchups are, and overall, I'm excited for this bowl season.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great bowl season. I mean, you already got a bunch of stuff going on with the offseason with transfer portal, a bunch of coaches jumping back and forth. Willie Fritz just announced as Houston's next head coach. So yeah, I mean,
Oh wow!
it's just getting started. It's just getting
Oh
started, and it's just going to continue more. So it's not just the bowl games coming up, but just tons of movement in college football. It's going to be great. I'm all here for it. But yeah, that's going to wrap up today's stream. Again, make sure you guys subscribe to American Football Network, College Football Roundup, and the Football Expert. I appreciate all of you guys getting in here. Appreciate you, Friction, for the comments. I see you said you got Bama and Washington in your national championship. I mean, it's definitely possible. That would be a great game. But we appreciate all of you guys tuning in, and we will see you next time.